My plan is about saying that when you invest in small businesses, you invest in the middle class, and you strengthen America's economy. Small businesses are part of the backbone of America's economy.
But pardon me, Madam Vice President, the question was, how are you going to pay for it?
Are you not ashamed of yourself? Are you not embarrassed? This is really embarrassing.
Well, one of the things is I'm going to make sure that the richest among us who can afford it pay their fair share in taxes.
One thing's for certain, two things for sure. Check this out right here. We got 60 minutes interviewing Kamala Harris. Let's just say this right here. Big shout out to this journalist right here. This is how you actually do journalism. He held her accountable and retracted and brought it back and said, listen, that is not what I asked you. Please answer the question correctly. Stop deflecting. Don't understand what I'm talking about? Sit back and react with your boy. Let's see how this is about to play out. If you like reactions like this, consider hitting that like button. Definitely subscribe to the channel and also hit the notification bell. Let's see how this is about to play out. Let's go, baby.
The events of the past few weeks have pushed us to the brink, if not into, an all-out regional war in the Middle East. What can the U.S. do at this point to stop this from spinning out of control?
Well, let's start with October 7. 1,200 people were massacred. 250 hostages were taken, including Americans. Women were brutally raped. And as I said then, I maintain Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. This war has to end.
We supply Israel with billions of dollars in military aid. And yet Prime Minister Netanyahu seems to be charting his own course.
He ain't listening to anybody. He's doing his own thing. Listen, I don't condone any type of violence. You understand what I mean? Unfortunately, sometimes that is the only thing people respect, violence. I say that to say this. Listen, it takes two to tango. I'm not gonna lie. I am not gonna lie. I will not tell you a lie. Yes, there's a war going on. However, don't sit there and think that these wars aren't fueled by a lot of ignorance. You understand what I'm saying? And they just like to show you what makes sense to their narrative. However, you have innocent people losing their lives, right? It ain't the people that should be beefing with each other. However, they are left in between and they're taking sides. You can go on TikTok right now and go down the feeds. You're going to see Israel versus Palestine. Why are the people beefing with each other, right? It got that nasty. This is what the governments do. You understand? And I mean, let's be serious right now. If I slap you, you're going to try to slap me back. There's going to be a slapping war, right or wrong. This is how these things start. Don't let these people put you in between all of this right now. I think we the people sometimes need to just say, you know what? I want no parts of this. All of this must stop right now, including the people serving.
The Biden-Harris administration has pressed him to agree to a ceasefire. He's resisted. You urged him not to go into Lebanon. He went in anyway. Does the U.S. have no sway over Prime Minister Netanyahu?
The work that we do diplomatically with the leadership of Israel is an ongoing pursuit around making clear our principles.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Do we have a real close ally in Prime Minister Netanyahu?
I think, with all due respect, the better question is, do we have an important alliance between...
Whoa. How are you telling a journalist how to question you so you can give him a better answer instead of answering the question that he asked you? I'm telling you, divisive.
Between the American people and the Israeli people? And the answer to that question is yes. And
while the war in the Middle East has dominated recent headlines, it's the economy that most concerns American voters this election year, as always. There are lots of signs that the American economy is doing very well, better than most countries, I think. But the American people don't seem to be feeling it. Groceries are 25% higher, and people are blaming you and Joe Biden for that. Are they wrong?
Answer questions.
We now have historic low unemployment in America among all groups of people.
You know why is that? A lot of jobs disappeared. You understand what I'm saying? They left, and no one is applying for unemployment because you can't. You understand what I'm saying? So I say that to say this right here. We the people know what's going on. Look around. Things aren't the same right now. The stores aren't filled up the way they used to be. The shelves aren't full the way they used to be. They're not fully stocked. Go on the Rite Aids and the CVS's. You'll see for yourself.
We now have an economy that is thriving by all macroeconomic measures. And, to your point, prices are still too high. And I know that. And we need to deal with it, which is why part of my plan, you mentioned groceries. Part of my plan is what we must do to bring down the price of groceries.
Harris says she'll press Congress to pass a federal ban on price gouging for food and groceries, but details are yet to be defined. You want to expand the child tax credit.
Yes, I do.
You want to give tax breaks to first-time home buyers
Yes.
and people starting small businesses.
Correct.
But it is estimated by the Nonpartisan Committee for Responsible Federal Budget that your economic plan would add $3 trillion to the federal deficit over the next decade. How are you going to pay for that?
Okay, so the other economists that have reviewed my plan versus my opponent and determined that my economic plan would strengthen America's economy, his would weaken it.
But
My
what?
plan, Bill, if you don't mind, my plan is about saying that when you invest in small businesses,
All right, don't forget. Her plan is about saying. All right? She's saying. That's her plan. Her plan is just only saying. Look, I'm just saying. You know what I mean?
you invest in the middle class and you strengthen America's economy. Small businesses are part of the backbone of America's economy.
But pardon me, Madam Vice President, the question was, how are you going to pay for it?
Well, one of the things is I'm going to make sure that the richest of
You hear what she just said right now? She sounds like a fool. I'm sorry.
And the question,
Let's bring it all the way back.
when you invest in small businesses on it and determined that my economic plan would strengthen America's economy, his would weaken it.
Say another motherfucking word and it's over.
My plan, Bill, if you don't mind, my plan is about saying that when you invest in small businesses, you invest in the middle class
How?
and you strengthen America's economy. Small businesses are part of the backbone of America's economy.
You see, she thinks that her punchline is always middle class, small business. She's just sending out codes to people, you know? So she believes if I say this, anyone who has a small business will be on my side, and anybody who thought they were middle class and see that they're losing that class, they'll hold on to me. You understand what I mean? She loves trigger words. Pay attention to her. But again, deflecting, not answering, but he brought it back to reality.
but pardon me, Madam Vice President, the question was, how are you going to pay for it?
Well, one of the things is I'm going to make sure that the richest
Fumbled.
among us who can afford it pay their fair share in taxes.
The richest amongst us who can afford it will pay their share of taxes, which will in return pay for the $3 trillion in deficit, which means is, I guess, the very same people that's actually voting her in, right? So when she say rich people, she must be talking about Taylor Swift, Oprah. You really believe this right here? Y'all want to believe that? Ah, come on, y'all smarter than that right there.
It is not right that teachers and nurses and firefighters are paying a higher tax rate than billionaires and the biggest corporations.
But-
and I plan on making that fair.
But we're dealing with the real world here.
But the real world includes...
How are you going to get this through Congress?
You know, when you talk quietly to a lot of folks in Congress, they know exactly what I'm talking about because their constituents know exactly what I'm talking about.
What are you
their
talking about?
constituents are those firefighters and teachers and nurses. Their constituents are middle-class, hardworking folk.
And Congress has
trigger
shown no inclination to move in your direction.
I disagree with you. There are plenty of leaders in Congress.
Yeah, she's getting tight right now. You understand? I don't think she's ever been interviewed this real right here. Like, this is real deal, Holyfield. You understand?
Who understand and know that the Trump tax cuts blew up our federal deficit. None of us, and certainly I cannot
don't
afford to
believe
be
that.
myopic in
She don't
terms of
believe
how
that.
I think about strengthening America's economy. Let me tell you something. I am a devout
tell you
public servant. You know that. I am also a capitalist. And I know the limitations of government.
Kamala Harris has been in government for decades. She was first elected San Francisco District Attorney in 2003, then California Attorney General. She went on to the U.S. Senate and now Vice President. A quarter of registered voters still say they don't know you. They don't know what makes you tick. And why do you think that is?
She's not
What's the
real.
disconnect?
It's an election bill. And I take it seriously that I have to earn everyone's vote. This is an election for President of the United States. No one should be able to take for granted that they can just declare themselves a candidate and automatically receive support. You have to earn it. And that's what I intend to do.
Let me tell you what your critics and the columnists say.
Okay.
It ain't gonna be nice, so wipe that smirk off your face. What's so funny, Kamala?
They say that the reason so many voters don't know you is that you have changed your position on so many things. You were against fracking, now you're for it. You supported looser immigration policies, now you're tightening them up. You were for Medicare for all, now you're not.
Look at her.
So many that
She
people
feel dumb.
don't truly know what you believe or what you stand for. And I know you've heard that.
In the last 4 years, I have been Vice President of the United States.
Duh.
And I have been traveling our country. And I have been listening to folks.
Really?
and seeking what is possible in terms of common ground. I believe in building consensus. We are a diverse people, geographically, regionally, in terms of where we are in our backgrounds. And what the American people do want is that we have leaders who can build consensus, where we can figure out compromise and understand it's not a bad thing, as long as you don't compromise your values, to find common sense solutions. And that has been my approach.
But one issue that has proven impervious to compromise is immigration. Over the past 4 years, the Biden-Harris approach has been inconsistent, and Republicans are convinced immigration is the vice president's Achilles heel. You recently visited the southern border and embraced President Biden's recent crackdown on asylum seekers. And that crackdown produced an almost immediate and dramatic decrease in the number of border crossings. If that's the right answer now, why didn't your administration take those steps in 2021?
Because she's running for president and she wants to look better than her current administration. Don't you see that right now? She's trying to disassociate herself from Biden and anything that he has done. So where she has a clean slate, nah, sweetheart, we bringing you back. Listen, you already know how it goes. Birds of a feather flock together, baby.
The first bill we proposed to Congress was to fix our broken immigration system,
That you created?
knowing that if you want to actually fix it, we need Congress to act. It
Insane.
was not taken up. Fast forward to a moment when a bipartisan group of members of the United States Senate, including one of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, got together, came up with a border security bill. Well, guess what happened? Donald Trump got word that this bill was afoot and could be passed, and he wants to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. So he told his buddies in Congress, kill the bill, don't let it move forward.
She tells the same story all the time. I mean, it's like, bring out the violin already at this point. I mean, what are we doing over here? Stop trying to deflect. We already know you got a lot to do with this. To say that you are incapable of making changes happen because you're just only a vice president, but in the same note, you have the nerve to say someone who's no longer a president has more pull than you? Come on, something ain't right now.
I've been covering the border for years, and so I know this is not a problem that started with your administration.
Correct.
But there was an historic flood of undocumented immigrants coming across the border the first 3 years of your administration. As a matter of fact, arrivals quadrupled from the last year of President Trump. Was it a mistake to loosen the immigration policies as much as you did?
It's a long-standing problem, and solutions are at hand. And from day one, literally, we have been offering solutions.
What I was asking was it a mistake to kind of allow that flood to happen?
Yes
in the
or
first
no?
place?
I think the policies that we have been proposing are about fixing a problem, not promoting a problem. Okay?
But the numbers did quadruple.
And the
under
numbers
your
today,
watch.
because of what we have done, we have cut the flow of illegal immigration by half.
Should you
We
have
have
done
cut
that?
the
Should
flow
you
of by half, but we need Congress to be able to act
She's
to
rude.
actually fix the problem.
You have accused Donald Trump of using racist tropes.
I feel like there's somebody behind her holding a pistol and he's like, hey, yo, my boy, next question or not. I'm telling you, because it seemed like an authentic interview and now it seems like it got a little weird. You understand?
When it comes to Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, when it comes to birtherism, when it comes to Charlottesville. In fact, you have called him a racist and divisive. Yet Donald Trump has the support of millions and millions of Americans. How do you explain that?
I'm glad you're pointing these comments out that he has made that have resulted in a response by most reasonable people to say it's just wrong. It's just wrong.
With so many people supporting Donald Trump, the man you've called a racist, how do you bridge that seemingly unbridgeable gap?
I believe that the people of America want a leader who's not trying to divide us
What is she
and
talking
demean. I believe that the American people recognize that the true measure of the strength of a leader is not based on who you beat down, it's based on who you lift up.
Well, when you're being presented as the first female black president, I mean, that alone right there is going to separate the country. You could have just been, the next president elected. You understand? But when the campaign is running behind this type of rhetoric, let's be real serious. You understand? I mean, I really don't know what to say about her at this point. I can already see she's going to try to do whatever she can in her will to just try to win. Her objective is just to win no matter what. No plans in hand, just win no matter what. She thinks she's DJ Khaled out here. You understand? Listen, go in the comments, run it up, flood it up. Let me know your thoughts on this right here. I think she's big cap. Somebody get her the biggest cap in the universe because that is all I hear every time she speak. See you guys in the next one. Love.